My friends, they were like, man, we need tattoos. We are in a rock band, a metal band. We need tattoos. We need to look cool. We need the leather trousers, the bullet belt and all that, right? The leather jacket. And we need tattoos, bro. But hey, we have no money for tattoos, man. Who could be like, who could be the one that could tattoo? Joao, you're the guy, man. You know how to draw. I say, yes, I know how to draw on paper, not on human skin. Yeah, but you could learn, bro. You could learn on us. So they were like pushing me. So thank God that I had like these crazy like metalhead friends that they were like careless about the quality. They didn't care. They were like, man, I just want to look cool, man. That's it. So basically, and then...
So you're leading the band, you're running the band, you're booking the shows, you're getting the guests.
Yeah.
Now you got to tattoo the band.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to tattoo them because I was like kind of forced.
Shit's about to go down.
I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Aaron Della Vedova.
Hey, friends and family and lovers of art. Welcome back to Chats and Tatts with me, your host, Aaron Della Vedova. My guest today is a tattoo artist, a very revered and respected tattoo artist, one of the best out of London. We did talk tattoo, but we really got deep on life, on spirituality, on karma, on the effects of AI, all that stuff. So deep philosophical conversation with my guest today. So with all that being said, please welcome Joao Bosco. Brother.
Hi.
Joao Bosco.
That's me.
Before you talk, I'm going to say it straight out of the gate, and I mean it. I look up to a lot of the tattooers that come on this show, all of them really on some level. I tremendously look up to your work. You've influenced a lot of my work. Some of you guys out there listening probably saw the last bodysuit show. Actually, it was the bodysuit show before that. And I painted this big bodysuit, and it's got these big giant snakes. That was you. I mean, hopefully when you look at it, I didn't get too close to you, but I couldn't help but just, you echoed, I channeled you into that work. So I look up to your work. I think you're an outstanding, legendary tattooer who's created his own signature. And I think that's huge. Like, there are plenty of people who do amazing work, but I find it fewer when you can look at work and be like, well, no one really did that before. That's him. That's his thing. And many will vibe from it, and it'll be probably stuff that looks more similar to your work in the future. But for those of us that were around in the beginning, we remember where it started. I know where it started. Yeah. It started with you. Yeah. So I know you're many other things. You're a shop owner. You've been a tattooer for 20 years. You've published books. You're a painter. You're all this stuff. We're going to get into all of that. But I just want to start by saying, for me, your tattooing, your art of tattooing is a huge inspiration to me and all the people that work at my show. When my crew heard you were coming today, they're like, no way. So, they're all, someone might come by and want your autograph later. So it's an honor to have you here all the way from London, everybody, where he owns his shop, Sacred Gold Tattoo in London for the last 5 years, been tattooing for 20 years. But you happen to be out in LA, I think, doing some work up in LA. Where are you working at up there?
I work at Black Anchor currently with Nico, the Hollywood location, like
nice.
West Hollywood.
I didn't realize you were at Black Anchor.
Yeah. I've been there I know Nico for a good while. First time we met was in Doncaster, England, about like maybe 14 years ago. It was a long while. I know we were always talking about, hey, I guess we should like working together at some point. And then there was time for me to change like my scenario in LA. So I was like, okay, there you go, a chance. And then I really like it because it's a little bit out of my my speciality in a way, because they are very much focused on the artistry of portrait and realism, right? And I like that. I like to be like getting like a more like influence from other styles, and let's put that way, yeah.
The thing is, we sometimes think as artists, like, you want to just hang out with a bunch of people that are doing what you're doing, because if you're hanging out with those guys, your shit's going to grow, but it's really the opposite.
Yeah, it's really the opposite.
You want to hang out with people that are doing shit you're not doing.
Yeah.
Even though you don't do a lot of color work, almost no color work, black and gray, pretty much through and through, you're still going to learn some stuff there that you would never pick up if you were hanging out with,
Totally.
That's cool. It's cool to see you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You could easily stay home, not make the flight.
Yeah.
It's not easy getting out here.
Yeah, I think like if for a good, enthusiastic person that is open to learn like every day, that never leaves that seat of an apprentice, he finds like inspiration and influence and something to learn in all sort of styles. So I like long time ago, I was talking to like Thomas. He used to work at the famous Interview in London, owned by Alex Binney. And then we were talking. He does like mainly large scale geometric / tribal style kind of thing. And then he was sharing his experience with me, which was like, man, I spent like a lot of time. He's now living in Japan currently since the first lockdown. And he was sharing his experience with me, like, man, I spent a lot of time in Japan learning with those like tattoo masters about bodysuit and whatnot. And then I was like, yeah, but it's so different from your style. Like you're more graphic and those guys that do Japanese work. And he was like, yes, indeed. But however, I was learning about the construction of the bodysuit, like tailor any design, any style, any image to create this harmony with the human body, with the anatomy. And that was like, wow, big like a
well, no one's got that
moment.
down better than the Japanese.
Yeah,
when it comes to
totally.
full body composition.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what I study too. You know,
Yeah.
my stuff isn't, classical Japanese, but
Yeah.
they got to figure it out. A lot to learn from those folks. And thank you, all you tattooers from hundreds of years ago in Japan for doing all the hard lifting for us so we could leapfrog off of there where they left off.
Yeah, the way that I see things is like, I tend to overlook these, the labels of styles. Like, okay, this is tribal, this is geometric, this is like a new school. For me, it's more about like the impact. I think the tattoo has to have this impact on people. So that's what I look the most. So it doesn't really matter like what style people do, as long as it creates some sort of impact. I think like people commonly ask me like, oh, what was the tattoo that caused like the biggest impact on you? I would say like one of the strongest tattoos I ever seen in my life was like the full sleeve that Kerry King has. You know Kerry King from Slayer. He has this massive tribal, I think it was done by Paul Booth, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And then again, people might say like, hey, tribal, but it's so different from what you do. But it's not about like the style, it's about the impact. I saw Slayer many times on stage. And even when I'm on a far back seat of the venue, I still can read that entire full sleeve from miles away. Like,
right.
Because it's strong, it's graphic, it's powerful. And it's readable. So for me, this is like where lays the magic of a good image. So I don't really like see things as styles or genres or anything like that. It's more about the impact.
It is about the impact. And in that, I mean, the last 5 years have been 10 years, but last 5 years, seeing all this heavy black work, guys filling their entire body with black with like one open, band of skin going up their leg that maybe creates a shape on their chest. That's it. Everything else is black, Yeah. The 10-year ago tattooer, if I had heard that idea, I think I would have been like, that's what the fuck? That's horrible. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I was wrong. You see that stuff when it's finished and it's like, wow, what a beautiful aesthetic to decorate the human form. So simple, so minimalist, and so powerful.
Yeah.
And so able, like you say, the guy could be 300 yards away from you at the beach and you'd know exactly what that tattoo was, where guys like me and you can barely tell what it is till you get like a foot away. And even then you're trying to figure out
Yeah, exactly.
stuff,
Yeah.
And that's cool to see tattooing really get quite avant-garde. What was considered, that wasn't tattooing to the people I learned from. Tattoos were illustrations, pictures of things, always.
Yeah.
Covering a whole arm black with one open stripe of skin. It's not tattooing. That's shit.
Yeah.
Well, anyone who thought that you were wrong. And that segment of tattooing is growing strong, and I've grown to really love it. I really enjoy it. It makes me question the work I do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I like to share ideas with open-minded people like yourself about it, because the discussion of people saying like, oh, look at this tattoo, this whatever style. This one won't last. See how this guy delivered. This won't last. I think like goes beyond that, man. There's just prejudgment. It's not about that. Like, hey, I don't like this. It's fine. You don't need to like, many things. You're not necessarily obliged to like things. But I guess that goes beyond that. If there is a demand that sustain that style, that product, let's put it that way. Say, how are you going to go against it? Like, a certain style is only popular and on demand because people consume it. There is a demand, there is a basic fan base that sustain that thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a thing. It's the same comparison of saying like, hey, I don't like a certain band. For example, I on my right to not like it, like for example, I don't know, Nickelback or some bands like that. But I cannot say like
Pop, rock,
I
pop
cannot
alternative.
Yeah, I cannot say like, hey, this is fresh. Like there's no value on that. How can I possibly say that if there is like a fan base that follow and sustain the guys? You know, the guys play around it. They sell out stadiums and whatever. Arenas and big venues. So yeah, indeed, I don't like it. But hey, like there is a demand for that. So how can I go against it? Like it's the same with the style that we diminish sometimes. Like hey, this new style trendy is like is bollocks. Like it won't last. I mean, like there is a demand for that. Like we have to respect that, and then that's how things goes. Like maybe it's fashion. Yeah, it would disappear. Like the trend would like fade away. Yeah, indeed. Like majority of those styles, they come and go like they do, right? Like they just vanish. But at the same time, like we have to agree that there is the popular demand that creates that thing.
Absolutely. You know, what you're talking about is it's really a unique phenomenon in tattooing, which has always offended me. Because if you get into the world of sculptors, you'd be hard pressed to find a guy who sculpts human form, who tells you an abstract sculpture shit.
Yeah.
You know, the sculptor recognizes,
yeah,
that guy does abstract. I do human form.
Yeah.
You know, painters are the same way. You won't catch the abstract painter talking shit on the guy who paints realism. They all respect each other.
Yeah.
They stay in their lanes. They do what they do. And then you get into tattooing, and it's not nearly as bad. But I've come from 30 plus years ago when it was just everybody had the strongest opinion about what tattoos should or should not be.
Yeah.
And it is a very, and I remember, you know, that was one of the saddest parts of becoming a tattooer, because I really wanted to be, one, I was an artist. I wanted to somehow pay my bills doing art. That was the main thing. And then I also wanted to join a group of people that were free thinkers. And I saw tattooers as those people, fringe people, people that were like, fuck the norm. We do what we want. And then I get into these tattoo shops. Everyone's wearing the same Dickie pants with the same Converse shoes with the same pulled up socks. It's like they're wearing fucking uniforms.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then they're talking shit on what is and isn't art, and they got opinions and all this. And I'm like, dude, you guys are more constricted than the guys down at Geico Insurance. Like,
totally,
what? I thought this was the land of the free. We're just going to explode the boundaries of nonconformity here. And you guys are all falling in line trying to get the approval of the tattooer that's sitting next to you. Fuck what he thinks, dude. You know, I'm trying to impress the person who walks through the door. I don't care what these other tattoos. You know, I've really done my career that way. Most of my life, I was always like, tattooers aren't my customers. Those people are. That guy, he's a Home Depot manager. That's my customer. And he loves this shit. I'm going to make it rad for him. And over the years, tattooers became more a part of my circle, and that's cool. And I think tattooers, our industry in general, that's switched. You don't run into those cats. I don't run into those people really at all anymore in where I work. I mean, you go around my shop, you got the black worker, the geo worker, the micro tatter, the Japanese, and everyone loves everybody. So it's cool to see that finally kind of dissipate.
Yeah, but make no mistakes. There's two people with narrow minds in out there, right? Like you're sharing the experience of 30 plus years ago, where you find these people like close-minded, and then it's crazy to think like 30 years later that this breed is still there, right? They're still like populating.
They're
the
hanging
world.
on.
Like, they're still there, but hey, like for how long, right? Especially with this fast changing we're facing now.
And I do want to talk about that. Not yet, because I think we're jumping ahead. But yeah, how long will that closed-minded tattooer be there? It depends on what kind of income he can survive on.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how much they can be there in 10 more years, but I don't think they're going to be the ones thriving.
No.
You know, like you're thriving, I'm thriving. Like you want to be in that top tier. Can't think like that, can't act like that, can't treat clients like that. Those days are gone. And they're not coming back.
No, never.
Thank God. I'm stoked for that. I really am. But you know, that kind of lends us towards, maybe before we jump into some bigger subjects, I'm curious. I'm always curious. 20-year tattooer. How did it all begin for you? I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 42.
42. So you're
42.
22 years old. When it about 21 maybe.
Yeah.
And so was there art prior to tattooing? Tell us a little bit of the story. How do you end up in this wonderful world of tattooing?
Okay, first thing, like when it comes to art, the thing that's really struck me hard was comic books. You know, like that kind of, but not like a silly, childish comic books like Walt Disney or anything like that. Was like more like a Marvel. And I'm talking about the Marvels from the 80s, which was like a little bit more dark and evil. Not talking about the new stuff that Hollywood makes and all that, where the all the heroes are very moralists, right? Like they're all perfect. Well, no, my comic books, they were like all the superheroes, they had like a
Darkness.
flaws. Yeah, exactly. Like Iron Man, for example, I always bring that up. The Iron Man, like from the comic books from the 80s, he was a very dark character. He was like an introvert. He was alcoholic. He was not cracking jokes or anything. He was not a social person. He was there. He was a billionaire. He was down to save the world and whatnot. But he had like his demons. He was exactly like away from this armor that he was wearing and whatnot. He was like just like another human being. And then I like that from Marvel. Like Marvel was intentionally putting like those human characteristics on the superheroes. Like same with Bruce Banner, which was like Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
Oh, Bruce Banner was
Bruce
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Peter Parker and all those guys. Anyway, so that was my background. And then I remember my first encounter was like Conan the Barbarian, and I was like, wow, man, this is so cool. So that was my first encounter with art. And then I always dreamt about like being a comic book illustrator. But hey, I was born in the middle of Amazon, right? Like was not much of a
Let's go. Where were you born?
Manaus. Yeah, Manaus.
Where is that?
It's like the capital of the state of Amazon, North Brazil.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that's is that very
your London accent's throwing me off a little here.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like
But you look, I can see it in you that you have. I can see you're not.
Yeah. So then I was like it was like a remote, like a side, like the south of Brazil was always more developed. So I suppose the north where was like things were like more difficult to get and whatnot. We had like all the resources, make no mistakes. Like Manaus is a big city, Like when I left, it was already like over 1 million population. Now it's much bigger because I left like almost 18 years, 17 years ago. That's when I left Brazil. So that was my reality. And then at a very young age, I got into like a heavy metal scene. And I would say it sounds like very much a cliche, especially coming from a metalhead. But I have to say, like, a heavy metal saved me. Heavy metal like changed the course of my life completely. So in a very young age, I felt like I didn't belong to Brazil, because Brazil, like, stereotype was very much of things that everyone knows, like football, samba, and things like that. I was never attracted to none of it. So for a while, I wonder if I was born in the wrong place, but I don't know, things happen the way they're meant to be, right? Mm. So I was like, man, I don't identify myself with nothing that comes from this land. Am I supposed to be here? I don't know. And I was very drawn to the heavy metal scene, which was like not a thing at all in Brazil. Not at all.
Very fringe.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, man, I fell in love with like a new wave of British heavy metal, especially bands from the UK, right? So I was the American bands, but the British scene was the one that caught me the most, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Metalhead, and the list goes on, Saxon, and so forth. So I started like playing with bands, like getting like my group together, and we were performing in my hometown, like putting shows together. And then I remember we used to be like a multitask. We were rehearsing, we were playing the music, we were the main attraction, but we were also the organizers, because there was no scene. So we had to promote the gigs, advertise, bring the audience, play, clean up everything. So we were doing everything, like And then I was like, man, maybe that's it. Maybe comic book illustrator won't be a thing for me. Maybe I'll be like a rock star or something. So I truly believed that. I was like, man, I want to do that for a living. But then it's very hard when your dream depends on other people's like efforts as well, right? So that I start to lose like not the passion for it, but like the belief that could be the path for me. I believe like, oh man, I am dependent on those guys. They need to be as committed as I am to make my dream happen.
But so many bands don't work out.
Exactly.
You got one guy in there that could go straight to the top, but the four other ones aren't.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the most difficult place to be, I believe, for anyone that has like big dreams. Like you got to be like in a place where the dreams, the success of your dreams and your achievements depends on you solely. I mean, we all need people indeed, but yeah, it's hard when that things like lays on other people's shoulders. Anyway, so then I was like, okay, like maybe heavy metal is my thing, is my like my destiny. And then I started to get disappointed about throughout the years about like this whole structure. And then I was presented to tattooing. I was like, as I said, I was into comic books, so I was doing my own like comic books. I was drawing all the things. So my mom was buying like all those Marvels books, and I was like trying to reproduce them. That's how I learned how to tattoo. So I was very much into anatomy. Mm-hmm. And then everyone knew, like everyone on my hometown knew that I was very much into it because I was drawing all the time. And then we were all skint, we were all broke. And my friends, they were like, man, we need tattoos. We are in a rock band, a metal band. We need tattoos. We need to look cool. We need the leather trousers, the bullet belt and all that, right? The leather jacket. And we need tattoos, bro. But hey, we have no money for tattoos, man. Who could be like, who could be the one that could tattoo? Joao, you're the guy, man. You know how to draw. I say, yes, I know how to draw on paper, not on human skin. Yeah, but you could learn, bro. You could learn on us. So they were like pushing me. So thank God that I had like these crazy like metalhead friends that they were like careless about the quality. They didn't care. They were like, man, I just want to look cool, man. That's it. So basically, and then...
So you're leading the band, you're running the band, you're booking the shows, you're getting the guests. Yeah. Now you got to tattoo the band.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to tattoo them because I was like kind of forced. I had like no conviction that I could do it. And then one time I was hanging out with this, in this like a local tattoo shop. And my image of a tattoo artist was like, man, they're bollocks. They're great. They are like a high-skilled artist. In order to like tattoo someone's skin, you gotta be like top notch, right? But then my big disappointment and eye-opening was the fact that while I was there hanging out, I found out that most of them, they couldn't draw to save their lives. They were like, yeah, man, I don't do that. Like I just get things from the Flash. I make the stencil and stick on someone's skin and I reproduce it, and then that's it. And then I was like, what? You can't draw anything? Not even a stick man? I said, no. I was like, whoa, man, I think there is a chance for me in that road. Right. Yeah. And then I gave a go. And then I first tattoo I did, it was like, it was funny because I was like anything but like confident. I was not confident at all. So I asked my friend, I was like, how about if we do like a Chinese or Japanese symbol, like a character, like those.
Kanji.
Kanji. Yeah, it was very popular, right? Like as a well, like
if you did them real cool, you used, instead of outlining them, you used like a mag.
Yeah,
like a paintbrush whip on the edges.
Do that. Yeah. I didn't know how to do that back in the day. I didn't have.
Because I remember the first ones I did, you outlined them, filled them in black.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And then when it healed, the outline was darker than the inside. And
So I was offering this guy, hey, shall we do like this kanji thing, like this Chinese symbol? And he was like, no, man, screw kanji, screw Chinese, man. I want a Grim Reaper. I was like, oh my God, Green Reaper, man. Oh my God, man, I won't be able to do that. And then he was like, man, come on, you can do it. And I did it. Obviously, it was like no good. But then before I see it, like on my first week, I already had like a queue of metalhead friends outside my place waiting. So on my first week of tattooing, I already had like a waiting list. Yeah, it was crazy. But it was funny because I was nervous about delivering quality, but they weren't. Like they were like, man, I don't care, man, just do it.
So let me get this straight though. You have had no one teach you anything. You just got a hold of some equipment.
Yeah.
And just
practice.
Let's try this needle this deep.
Exactly.
Let's try a little less. You're just experiment. And then one thing that was like giving me confidence, it was like the fact that they were not like pushing me to deliver anything with quality. I wouldn't have any resentment of, oh my God, man, I ruined someone's life, man. I ruined someone's skin. Knew what they were getting into.
Yeah. So,
and they were cheap or free sometimes.
Totally, yeah. And then the offer went. And then, that's how everything started. But remember, I always felt like misfit in Brazil, right? So with tattooing, I was like, that's cool. That doesn't change anything what I feel about Brazil. And I knew deep inside of me that, okay, one day I will go for good. It was just so clear in my head. I don't know where this conviction came from, but I just knew. I was like, no, I'm not meant to be here. Like it's not my place. And I knew it was just a matter of time. And then with tattooing, I saw this, my opportunity, my chances getting broader. I was like, like now I can work with tattooing and then delivering, that product to people. And that could make my whole dream of living abroad more real, more feasible. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you do. So at what point do you pull the trigger and leave Brazil?
Okay, so then I was like I said, I was very much into like the British scene of heavy metal, right? So I always had this thing for Great Britain, right? And then I was like, oh, where shall I go? I was about to decide, right? I was like, okay, I need to go. I need to leave Brazil, and then that's gonna be Europe. Where shall I go? Shall I go Portugal, where we speak the same language, so it's gonna make my life easier? Man, maybe Portugal. Yeah, let me think. And then I remember like all my curiosity I had about like Great Britain and all the admiration I had for the history, for the language, and then especially the music scene. And then I was like, yeah, but how about if I go to England? Yeah, and then I can learn English, right? I can solve two problems. I can learn more about tattoo. I will be like in the heart of Europe, and I can learn English. That would be like a good call. Where shall I go? Shall I go to a small town because I will have more chance because there's less competition? And then I was like, nah, man, let's bet like all or nothing, like Ace of Spades, Motorhead thing, like you win some, you lose some, is all the same to me. So that was like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose big. I'm going to lose to London. I'm not going to lose like to a small town. I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. London it is. So I moved to London. I didn't have like any friend, anyone to welcome me, to look after
Just
me.
show up all by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're how old right now?
Then I was like maybe 25. I think I just turned 25 when I moved.
You've been tattooing now for a few years.
Yeah, for 2.5 years. Yeah,
You got your tattoo. You know how to tattoo.
Yeah. But remember, like back in the days, there was no. I thought another thing that made me move away from Brazil was like, man, if I stay here, it's gonna take me too long to learn now. Because remember, there was no
big scene, big
tattoo
scene.
There was no like access to any source of information. Remember, like all those international magazines and books and sources of knowledge of information and references was not available for me. I was like, man, if I stay here, and then back in the days, people were very much like close to share the knowledge to other people, which is okay. That would never bug me. Like artists with more experience, they were like, I'm not gonna share my secrets, man. Like, you're gonna create another competition to me now. They were very much like that back in the days, right? And then I was like, man, this is gonna take me forever, man. I'd rather leave. If I am exposed to the European convention scene, I will watch more clients, more artists, so that will help me to learn more about the craft. So that was another thing that made me move to the UK, and then off I went, and then the early days was difficult, but it never really like intimidated me. If anything, I was like super like thrilled, excited, about everything. Like the fact that I could not communicate, that was like was not intimidating. It was never like something that was like getting me like not motivated or anything. I was the other way around. I was like, yay, man! Like I'm learning. People won't understand a word what I say, but hey, I'm gonna learn every day a new language. So that was never like something that put me off. The other way around, like that can affect like your confidence as well, right? Like the fact that you can't communicate, so you might feel less than other people that are fluent. But I always knew that hey, the only difference between me and that guy that speaks fluently is time. He's been here longer. He grew up here, so of course he knows how to speak better than I do. But hey, it's just time. He's not better than me. He's not more intelligent than me or anything. It's just time. So just give me some time and that will be fine. So that was like the trigger. So some people like they're very cautious about like, hey man, I'm not going to a certain place because I can't communicate. I can't speak their language. So what? Like just do it. But people don't care as long as you put the effort, right? Like it's not like a.
They see you want to be a part of their culture and you're embracing it and you're trying to become a part of everything that they're doing. People want to help.
Yeah.
They appreciate that effort. Yeah.
So I think like you have to be, I think earlier on we were talking about spirituality. I think when we look from that prism, I guess we have to always feel grateful for everything. Like I said earlier, like back in the days, people were very closed and recluded to that knowledge. They were not sharing that knowledge. So they would look at you and say, who is that guy? Learning how to tattoo. You want to learn from me how to tattoo? No, I'm not going to help this guy. So I found like no, I never felt like welcoming, like welcome from them, like artists with more experience. Like, oh yeah, we wanted to learn how to tattoo. Yeah, come by, man. We'll show you how to do things. I never had that. I never felt that. But that was good. That was good. That was like what pushed me away. That made me go. So that was a blessing. So depending like how do you see things, right? It could be like man, I left Brazil because nobody wanted to help me. Nobody wants to teach me. So why should they? Why should they? What they owe you? They don't owe you nothing. Like do it. Go and create your own path. So I'm grateful for that. It's totally the opposite. I have no resentment. I'm grateful for that. The people never helped me. People never gave me a leg up. They laugh at me and all that. I'm grateful because that was like the thing that pushed me outside Brazil.
You'd still be in Brazil, probably.
Probably. If everything was too easy, if I was comfortable in Brazil, I would probably still there. So, like, I think, like, as humans, we have to be like grateful and thankful for everything that happens. Everything that happened to us. Yeah.
So true. I'm 52 years old. I've had more than a few negative experiences, and hey, look, I only add one caveat when I say this. That I do believe there are acute bad things that happen to people that I don't think I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who have children with bone cancer. I mean, those that's a separate thing. I'm talking about life stuff. No one wants to teach you how to tattoo. No one wants to help you when you get to London. This is just regular level life stuff. And it sucks, to some degree. I'm sure you had many nights where you felt alone, maybe discouraged. Did I make the right choice? But in my events as well, and you're saying it right now, you give it time. You look back, give it 5 years, 10 years, and every single time you see the perfectness of it.
Yeah.
Which is helpful now because those things still come. Negative things happen. Yeah. I'm more able now as an older man to be like, well, we'll see. This is happening today, but what will this provide for me in the future? And you almost always is the perfect thing for what you need right then.
That's so true, man.
Yeah. And I think that's something for you younger folks that are listening. If you're in that, be patient. What's happening, the bad thing that's happening is just closing a door. And as soon as it closes, some other door you're supposed to walk through is opening. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Don't you think like this is the biggest challenge of life? Like get to learn those outcomes of life, like decipher and translate those events, bad events, as a blessing. Like not feel despair, not feel like a bummed or the other way around. Just accept it and then feel like, okay, this is gonna help me to get somewhere else in the future. This is the biggest challenge, right? Like I suppose.
I think it's the game that's being played.
Yeah.
I don't think any human being walks this life and creates anything worth creating that doesn't have these experiences. And I think I think it creates character. Like if you want to develop a school where souls are going to develop trust in the universe, faith. And I'm not a religious man. I don't go to church, but I am a spiritual man.
Likewise.
And to me, it certainly seems like the whole game is set up to develop that. And how does it do that to you? It puts you in awkward situations. It seemed like there's no answer or solution. Then later you reflect back and see how it was perfect. And enough of those experiences gets you to a place where I'm kind of at right now, where I'm just sort of like, I just trust. I'll try something. If it fails, that's perfect. Mm-hmm. Because that failure is probably going to move my head to this. So it develops faith. It develops a trust in the universe. And what that means to us individually is different for each person. Mm-hmm. But it does seem like that's the game that's being played. That's the system we're in. That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I share the same thoughts. Like I try to definitely more and more, especially the older I get, like look at everything, all the events in life from a spiritual perspective and prism. Not like the religious definition of spirituality, but even like the science prism of spirituality, right? Like we can go like further with in the realms of quantum physics, like and so forth, which is like something I would love to like to go through like in this conversation, but yeah, I share the same thing. Like I constantly remind myself, and I think that got to be an exercise. I don't think like you're gonna get there to the point like, hey, I learned it all, and I know how to decipher things in life, all the events, the bad events, and turn them to good, to a blessing. I think it's something that you do daily. Every time you wake up in the morning, you have to like somehow like meditate and think like, okay, man, let's face like this day and then enjoy this chance I have in life. And it's like a muscle, you know, like you never, brushing your teeth, you never brush your teeth too much that you don't need that anymore. Every day you have to do it. And to keep a good physique and health, you have to train every day. I don't expect, and another thing is like, don't expect those muscles and your shape to change in a week of a workout. You know what I mean? You got to give time. So you start practicing now this philosophy, give you some time, and then you're going to get the outcomes later. But indeed, you should never like quit that. You never get to a physique, like a muscle physique that you feel like, okay, I got there. I'm so muscular. I have a low body fat, and now I can let go. No, you gotta. You never get anything. You maintain those things, right? And it's the same with spirituality, I guess. You never get like this level of spirituality. You maintain that throughout. That's like a meditation,
call it a spiritual practice.
Practicing,
yeah, no, and it makes total sense. And you know, I made that mistake. I've had hallucinogenic experiences. Felt like I got the solutions. Boom, I could check that box. I'm done. I'm a changed man. Nope. You know, months go by. It wears off. I'm behaving in old ways that I'm not cool with. And you know, I've learned. I have practices. I get up every morning. I read my mission statement to myself every morning. I make edits to it. Why do I do that? It's repetitive. It's redundant at times. Mm-hmm. But it's my practice. It's part of my practice. It keeps my mind in there, because if you just think you've learned it, oh, I read the book, I'm good. I can check. It's just like working out. It's just like eating healthy. You have to do it your whole life. You know, that's why they call it a practice. Yeah. And I really like what you said too about, I do use the word spirituality, but I almost don't like using it, because when you say it, it triggers so many different thoughts for people. You know, spirituality could be Christianity to somebody. Somebody else, it's Buddhism. Somebody else, it means that there are angels behind them guarding their efforts daily. And maybe all that's true. I don't know. But the more I look at it, it really just seems more like we're in a machine that's designed a certain way. And if you play by the rules of the machine, life's better. And if you go against the rules of the machine, life is worse. I don't think you have to bring in gods and goddesses and afterlife and mini lives and all that stuff, which I've read a lot about and I still meditate and stuff. But it really is, to me, it's just, and it goes back to like you with quantum physics, and most people nowadays, I think, have been at least exposed to some of those ideas. And they break matter down to its smallest particles, and it's a vibration. They can't even find bits of matter. Yeah. Fucking explain that. You know, I tell people all the time, we're in a fucking simulation. They're like, simulation. I'm like, well, you tell me. They can't find matter. Somehow this table's hard. Mm-hmm. But when you break it down, it's just energy. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you mentioned The Matrix, the movie earlier, that scene where, what's his name, the main guy, I forgot. Neo, the whole landscape turns into a digital matrix, which I have seen, by the way, on DMT. I fucking hit that pipe, and it was almost identical to the movie. The wall, I could see the molecular structure of everything around me moving with just energy. I was just energy. And I couldn't put my hand through a wall. For some reason, the energy that the wall was made of was vibrating at a certain frequency. Yeah. And I was at a different frequency. Yeah, exactly. So those two frequencies stopped each other. Yeah. But matter, the wall didn't stop me. Yeah. It's that it's on it. And so, the idea of, I believe it is true. If somebody could learn to master their own vibration, you probably could walk through a wall. Yeah, totally. I believe that's true. Yeah. But I do like it, looking at it from that perspective, as a machine versus spirituality, because that can get muddy, with what that means to everybody. Yeah. And hey, I don't got the answers, man. And the other thing is, when it comes to the ability to live the way you live now in gratitude most of the time, and I do too, you can't expect the young person to do that, because you're asking them to trust a system that they haven't seen unveil itself yet. Because you really don't get continuous examples of that you can refer back to till later in life. Things happen, then they work out. Things happen, and enough of those happen, and you start getting more like, oh, everything's okay. Everything was always okay the whole time. Yeah. Even back then, when everything seemed to be on fire around me, it wasn't. Everything was perfect. Yeah. But that just takes time, wisdom, age, experience. Yeah. Speaking of spirituality, some terms and lessons in Buddhism and Taoism, they say like there's nothing outside of you, right? Everything's happened within you, like all the conflicts and stress and everything. There we go on our inner thoughts.
it's like something that's just happened, like anxiety, for example. There's nothing happening, but you're just so worried about tomorrow or something like that you anticipate in some pain. And then if you look around, there's nothing. Nobody's harming you or anything. But you were just like you're just freaking out.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like it's like a realm that we have to get control and get our hands on. And but yeah, like it's easier said than done. That's for sure. But I believe that somehow life takes its natural course, and then it's always there to give us a lesson. And then I feel that I'm pretty sure like you would agree in certain level of interpretation, which is like it seems like, especially on my tattoo career, I feel like whenever I start to, because everyone goes through that at some point, we all get a little bit cocky about our craft, you know, especially if we excel somewhat like a style or a skill when it comes to either drawing, painting, or tattooing. We all we tend to get a bit cocky, and we all go through that. And then some of us, we realize we've been a bit cocky, and then we go back to like a more humble, like a state of mind. But every time when I remember a few times in my career where I was like getting too comfortable or getting a little bit cocky, I just like life itself come and slap me on the face, you know, like, hey man, go back to your seat, like your apprentice seat. You're not ready to come to your master seat or stage or anything. Like you gotta be there, like sitting and learning, because you got way more things to learn. For example, like it can happen to many people, like they undermine a certain style. Like for example, oh, this is fine line, anyone can do that. And then when you try to do it, you might not be as successful as someone that do that day in, day out. You see what I mean? So and then that is good, because that is going to give you a big smack on the face. Like, hey man, stay more humble and appreciate what people do. And then don't make like a prejudgments, like, hey, like this and that style is easy to deliver, is easy to execute. Oh, you do that because you're doing with a pen machine, or you're doing that because you're doing with a certain like a type of needle or anything. Never undermine it. Like always see value, and then just refrain your thoughts and your mouth. You know, like keep your thoughts to yourself. Think over before you say anything. That's why like we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? I suppose.
Yeah.
That's how I see things.
Well, the tattoo industry is, you know, the last 20 years, well, until recently, was just so robust, and there was just so many. There was not enough tattooers and shops to fill the need of the demand. So everybody thrived, even the people who weren't that great or whatever thrived. And every tattooer had a group of people that told him every day that she's the most amazing person in the world. And so our industry specifically for many years was very easy to get an ego. You know,
oh yeah,
you know, because everybody's busy. Oh, I've got a 6-month waiting list.
Oh, yeah.
I must be everything because look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, now things have, you know, the industry has reached its full maturity. Nothing wrong in our industry. Nothing. There's nothing's going away. In fact, our industry is still growing. You know, economists can tell you that. You know, there's more money moving into tattooing via customers every year, growing steadily like any other normal industry. But we've reached our full saturation point.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot more humility entering.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Because it's, God, books closed. Yeah, you know, there's just been so much chest out ego.
Yeah.
You know, and I fell into that too, to some degree. I think
we all do, yeah.
And it's hard not to when you've got a 2-year waiting list.
Yeah.
And people are, you know, whatever. But those days are kind of come and went. And now, you know, we're still going to thrive, guys like me and you and lots of others like us. But we're going to have to thrive in a new way with humility, with hard work, with professionalism. And that's the future, I think, of tattoo. We're kind of getting into, it's something I wanted to ask you about that too. I mean, you are a shop owner, and what do you see going on in the landscape of tattooing? I pretty much highlighted it there, but you're noticing a similar trend, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah, there's so many things to cover when it comes to that subject. One thing is for sure, I think we both agree on that, which is like being a good tattooer on this day and age won't do. Like it's not enough to be a good tattooer. You gotta bring so much more to the table. You gotta have like all those skills, like be creative with content creation. Take like the best picture of the tattoo, organize your portfolio on social media in a way like the old pictures have like an harmony with each other and all those things, and plus like filmography and all those things. So and marketing, and then accountancy, and then so forth. Like you gotta bring loads to the table. So I guess you gotta be conscious that hey, like just a good tattoo won't do. This is just a part of the whole thing that need to compose myself with in a professional realm. And above all those things, like the customer treatment has to be like a tip top, like top shelf, 10 out of 10 these days, more than anything. And then even though you always being aware of it, you have to like kind of get there and on steroids now. Get those things like, man, you got to really get your client and suck them off, man. Like you got to treat them like kings, like rock stars, man, in a way. Obviously, you can't please everyone. That's not what I'm saying here. But hey, you really have to like show and demonstrate like a big respect to them because, hey, they could get tattooed by, we're not running out of good artists out there. And they chose you to deliver that piece for you. Why do you think is that? Just because you are like, you're a great tattooer? No, you got plenty out there. You know, you got plenty of good tattooers out there. They came because like they enjoy like a good conversation with you, and then you are, you know, seems to like be respectful and you treat them well, and then I think that's what really makes the difference nowadays. Like, and we should be aware of it. And anyone that overlooked that, I think they will like, it will be like a disadvantage. You know,
We talked about this earlier, and there's a purification happening in our industry right now. And I see it. I won't name names, but I have friends that I started tattooing with, and they're not doing great. But they weren't doing any of this stuff, and they still don't do this stuff. All they do is bitch and whine that economy sucks, the clients suck, and everything's, you know, whatever they want to go. They're going to have a victim story around that circumstance. And that's is what it is. You know, for people that want to play at the level you're talking about, it's going to be a great place to be for many, many years to come. But you're going to have to play. I call all the things you said, I wrap up into the name professional. Are you a professional tattooer? What does that mean to be a professional? Yeah. Well, do you manage your money correctly? Do you know how to market? Do you know how to work your social media? Do you come in, you know, look nice? Do you dress like a fucking slob? You know, all these things factor into service. This is a service industry. Yeah. You got to be of service. You got to be looking at that client, really reading them and thinking, what this particular person, what would they need? Some people need a buddy that wants to make jokes. Some people need somebody that's more soft and caring. Everyone needs a little something different. Yeah, that's our job to kind of read that and try to provide that. You're not going to nail it every time, but if you're coming from a place of being of service, people are gonna love you for it. And they're gonna come back and they're gonna tell their friends. So the recipe isn't that difficult. No. The one addition in that professionalism title is, you know, needing to be a photographer, needing to be a videographer, needing to be a content creator. Yeah. That's not something I enjoy. I'm learning to enjoy it. Luckily, I have a people around me that I can now help me with it, but younger tattooers, you got to do it on your own. You know, I interview people to come work here sometimes, and that's part of my interview now. I'm I love your work, bud. But it looks to me like you're posting every 3 weeks. Yeah. I don't want you here. Like, this isn't enough. Like, or you need to commit to me that if you come on board, we're going to change your entire social media strategy. Yeah. And if I recommend you do something, don't get pissed that, oh, I went to work with Aaron and Aaron's telling me how to run my Instagram. Yeah, I am going to tell you how to run your Instagram if you don't have it figured out yet. Like, I never thought I would make that part of the criteria to hire someone. Even for me, it's like, God, I can't believe I have to care about this. But that's the landscape we're in, and everyone's got to do it if you want to thrive. Yeah, exactly. Survival and thrival, or thrival. Survival and thriving, two different things. You know? Surviving, there's going to be plenty out there that are just going to get by. Yeah. But I'm not interested in that. No. You know, I don't think you are either. No. Yeah, that's where we're at. So everybody out there that's playing like that, relax. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be okay. Yeah. And I have no sympathy for folks that they tend to dwell in the past and they whine and complain about, hey, like everything's changing now. Like I miss the old days. Things are not how they used to be. I say, yes. Tell me one period of
human, the mankind history where things stood still? Tell me one moment. I don't recall that. Everything is always evolving, like technology. Like back in the days, if you watch those old movies from the 20s and 30s, you see like commonly you see like some adult like sit in on the park or at home in the sofa in the living room, like with a paper open and reading through, right? And then everyone was have like their eyes stuck on the paper and then reading through shit. And then now we have like the smartphone. That's what we get our faces on now. So yeah, we changed the means, but we're still having the same habits. So yeah, it's always like that. Like I don't know, I don't understand. Like I don't follow that perspective of like, oh man, I wish things could remain as they are. Like what? Like it never happened, it never will. And then after this new thing that we're talking about now, like all these things that we need to bring onto the table, there will be like more things. In 10 years' time, there'll be like more things because things are gonna get more competitive, more narrow, and you have to excel with all the skills, not just like providing, like executing, delivering a good tattoo.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it's be ready, like be used to it. Be used to be uncomfortable because this, and yeah.
Yeah. No, that's in with the yeah, change you're talking about. It's on a hyper fast track with technology, basically. You know, things have always changed. You're right, but things changed more slowly, and I think human beings, our DNA hasn't quite adapted to this speed of change. So it's difficult to change this quickly. It's not easy, you know.
No.
But that is not going to slow down, man. No. It's going to speed up, and that's maybe we're going into this territory. I mean, the AI territory. We're all aware of, and the power it presents, the positive power it could bring to the table. I mean, I really believe AI could fix the world. I think it has the power to cure disease. I think it has the power to rule nations. I think it has the power to make this planet a better place. It's also got the power to create biological weapons and give terrorists the ability to spread that biological disease nationwide in a very smart and efficient system. Can do that too. So these are going to be some real interesting years ahead of us. I mean, basically, it's already started, but I think the real momentum of it is happening right now. This next year alone is going to be huge. Next 5 years, my God, I have ideas what that looks like 5 years from now, but I'm sure I'll be wrong. Yeah. It's that time.
Yeah, I can't remember any moment of human evolution where technology works against the favor or against the well-being of humanity. Obviously, it rocks the boat for sure. It changes everything, but it always work on our favor. Like when we start to electricity, like the lamps and whatnot, it was like a massive change and maybe a disruption on somewhat like some type of market or industry. But yeah, it works on the favor of the whole mankind, and it's speed up the process and the progress of a technology that would always work in our favor. And like a washing machine, like I'm pretty sure, like at some point, like some people were disrupted by this technology, or like, I don't need to bring my clothes to someone else to wash. I can do everything at home, and so forth. The examples can be vast, right? And I'm positive. I'm positive about like this whole technology and AI and everything. And obviously, I see like only the bright side of things, a bright horizon. Indeed, the adaptation to that is going to be a bit uncomfortable, a bit rocky, a bit bumpy, but I think it's going to be like good for us in the long run, the long term, for sure.
I agree too. I think too many people go straight to the Terminator. Oh, this is it. The robots are going to come and kill everybody. Yeah, I think there's going to be positive out of it. There always has. Technology has always been positive for it. And there is some kind of destiny weaved into this. I mean, I find it curious that we, human beings, seem to have an insatiable desire to continue the progress of technology. We just can't help ourselves. We can't stop ourselves. And it all seems to have led us to this particular point. And this new technology, AI, is vastly different than anything before. Anything before is what I would call an analog technology, a washing machine, for instance. Even the ability to go on the internet and to access information. These things are pretty analog. I mean, they were helpful. They are still helpful. But this thing is a new creature. completely. And we made it. And I think we were destined to make it. And why? I think it goes back to some of the things you're saying. I think there's going to be some incredible positive results. In fact, I believe the survival of our species depends on AI.
Yeah.
There's no way to solve the complicated problems of 20 years from now with our own monkey brains. We've proven we can't do it. We have been trying to fix a lot of shit, and it's getting worse. We are not really doing a good job when you just put humans in charge of a project to clean up the ecosystem of an environment. We somehow tend to fuck up most of these things. So, and the problems are getting more complex, and this AI could fix all that.
Yeah.
It could, you know. And I'm with you though. I'm more optimistic. I don't see the Terminator thing. I'm not saying we won't have a robot. I mean, hell, they just had one. I saw a video of a drone that the military man commanding the drone. It was told if anyone tried to interfere with its mission, to eliminate the thing that was interfering with it. So the operator tells this thing to abort the mission and to come back. It, you know, in its programming decides you're interfering with my mission. So it comes back and guns him down. You know, are we going to have more things like that happen? Yeah, I do. I think we will. The question is, how big will these, when you say rock the boat, how much is this boat going to get rocked before we straighten it out? I don't know, man. I think there's going to be some big events, some pretty fucking big ones. And it's going to slap the world into a mindset of, okay, we, just like we did with nuclear power, you know, when nuclear bombs, we first made one. Obviously, we dropped 2 of them on Japan, and that was horrible. Then everyone starts building them, and everyone's got a bunch of them. And it took us a while, but I think it was 15 years later, treaties were established, and everyone knew, like, to use nuclear weapons on each other doesn't benefit the whole. Yeah. And so we, knock on wood, haven't started a nuclear war with another superpower. I believe we can do the same thing with AI. But at the current state of it, there doesn't seem to be a lot of motivation on behalf of some of these other powerful nations to collaborate on restrictions, on, you know, controlling development. You know, what, you know, if you know, the creators of AI right now, they wake up daily and the thing's doing shit they can't predict because they're trying to advance it at a super high pace in competition with China or Russia. Well, they're doing the same thing. And the real danger in all this is that we lose control of it to some degree. We need to rein it in, but the only way you can rein it in is everybody plays ball. Everyone has to do it simultaneously. You know, if the US reins it in and China doesn't, it puts us at a disadvantage. And I just wonder what event. Humans don't seem to really get motivated to fix a big problem until something bad happens, you know. So it scares me a little to wonder what big events have to occur before everyone finally goes, okay, let's collaborate, let's cooperate on this issue. And that remains to be seen.
Yeah. It's hard to visualize like that scenario, right? When every nation and every corporation defend their own interests, right? As opposed to like the public, like well-being and whatnot. Yeah. So, and then it's also like hard to like, for me especially, at least, it's hard to see things from the angle of okay, there is this nation, there is that nation, there is those interests. I always see things as like corporations, and there's a higher power over there. I don't want to go too much into the realm of conspiracy theories, but. Yeah, but back to the AI thing, like just to wrap up what we were talking about, is like I welcome people to like also have the same like opinion that we have here, like which is like being like optimist and being positive about it, because I don't think we should feel threatened or anything, like especially like talking about like artists in general. You know what I mean? I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a musician in LA, and we were talking about AI and the music industry. So like I don't know if you heard of like there is some like programs that they can like replicate like
I heard a new Jimi Hendrix song.
Exactly.
On the Joe Rogan show. I think he played it, or somebody. Maybe it was Duncan Trussell. Yeah. But yeah, the damn thing wrote a new Jimi Hendrix song. It was good. It sounded just like him.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. But there's things like, especially when it comes to rock and roll, it's good that you brought that up, like the Jimi Hendrix like character, which is like there is. And this guy was telling me like he's like a music producer, right? He's a multi instrumentist. He plays like loads of instruments. He was like, man, that is something like very difficult replicate in like a on more like a analog and organic type style of music, which covers like a rock and roll, blues, and jazz, which is like the human aspect of it, meaning the errors, the flaws. For example, when you do a solo guitar and you do a bend that goes out of tempo or out of tune or something, and then there is some mistakes on it, and that is part of the magic of the genre, the style. And I had to agree with him. Like, I'm not a music producer like he is, but I have experience with music, and those things can be replicated by AI. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for example, I think like in the soon future, there will be like too much perfection, because that's what technology and AI perceive, right? Like the ultimate good and perfect result of everything, like saying like an image or a text or an artwork or something like that. Whilst like we human, we tend to appreciate those things that goes a little bit like off the purpose. For example, if you see like a band playing, and then I think like in the future people will like crave more those things, like to have this
flaws.
humor, the flaws, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what makes it special. Like for example, if I go to see like a band on stage and I see like the singer, the frontman going out of tune, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
The guy is a human like me, and then he couldn't like reproduce the whole thing that he recorded at the studio. And then, for example, you see like, for example, like maybe Axl Rose or Mick Jagger singing on stage, and then they can't reach the tones that they used to when they were young, and then you feel like, yes, of course, the guy is like much older now, and that's great. Like you know, I mean, I don't see it like as something like, oh man, there's not like, doesn't sound like the original man, so there's no value on that. No, the other way around. I cheer for the guy. Like,
it makes it real, and you can relate to it. And like you said, he's a human like me.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
so identify yourself with that, with the flaws,
But AI will do that too, easily.
right?
Easily. You know, yes, in the beginning, it's going to make probably music and art that's too perfect. Even when I go into Mid-Journey and I look at some of the art AI is creating, it is too polished. It's too perfect. Like, I want to see the brushstroke that's kind of not right. Or, you know, where I can see where the artist did a great job, but he struggled in this area. And it's not so great in that area but now I know a human touched it and a human made it. And I could see the struggles that human was having during the creation of that piece. And I love it even more because I can relate to it. And I've been there myself. So I can really relate to it. But AI is going to be able to do that too. They're just going to, you're going to enter a new prompt. It's going to say, add human flaws to this piece of art.
Right.
Add human flaws to this piece of music. Even that Jimi Hendrix song I listened to, it was dirty. It had grungy. You know how Jimmy played. It was just so raw. You know, and that was what was cool, is because you're thinking, well, AI is going to do Jimi Hendrix. Well, it's not going to work, especially for Jimmy, because Jimmy was too raw.
Yeah.
But it listened to everything he ever did, and it made it like Jimmy would have done it. You know, and I think it'll do that too.
What do you think is going to be like when it comes to like the performance?
Yeah, well, right. Okay, so there's still a new element, right? There's the standing there and watching another human being perform the music. But yeah, I think the live performance aspect is going to be there for quite some time.
Yeah.
Robots that look just like us, that perform just like us, I think it's totally doable. But I do think it'll reach a point where you're going to have a big craving for the authentic. I think actually the value of human created art will probably go up because the availability of AI created art is going to be so available. It's like anything in life. If there's a ton of an object that people want, it's cheap. But if there's a few of that object, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So
scarcity, right? Like when something is scarce, that's what the value lies
exactly.
on.
So the hand created sculpture, the hand created tattoo,
Totally.
the real human standing on stage singing a song for you.
Yeah.
I think these things are going to go up in value, and they're going to be, there's going to be groups of people who don't care. They're going to be like, I don't give a shit about that. I'd rather go see robots perform. Okay. But there's going to be another group that's like, no, I'll pay twice the price for that ticket because that's a real human.
Yeah. Hence the comeback of vinyl sales, right? Like is being reported that like vinyls being selling like more than ever before.
Right.
Like and why people need vinyls, like when you have like any music in the world on your pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because it's like you just need that you have this connection, some physical connection with the artist that you admire, and then the
Especially
collectible
with,
thing.
With art, when we look for art, we're really looking for authenticity. We're looking for something that's real, that's tangibly real. So, and it's also a way of collecting something that you're a human and another human made this, you know, and so AI, no one's really going to care when you go to the store and you buy a bottle of soda and the label was made by AI. Who cares?
Exactly.
But if you're buying a painting for your house to put over your fireplace, there's going to be plenty of people who want that thing made by a human. You know?
And I think like another thing that make us like a treasure any sort of product or artistry is like, man, that human with the same time I have in the day, he mastered this craft and he's delivering these things with excellence. And then you think like that's what makes you admire the thing. Like, for example, if I go to a restaurant, for example, and if it's a dish that I could easily do myself at home, I'll be like, yeah, that's quite boring. But if I go to I don't know, this 5 stars like a Thai restaurant with this curry with ingredients and flavor that I could never reproduce that, or it would take me a long time how to do it, I'm like, yeah, I pay money for that. You know what I mean? Like it's the same with any kind of product and artistry, I guess.
Yeah. But having said all that, that doesn't change the fact that my prediction is the years ahead, there are going to be many, many, many more tattoo artists that don't have the illustrative skill sets we have, and they're going to be successful regardless of that.
Yeah.
You know, as much as you might be the kind of guy who would never go to a tattoo artist who generated the artwork via AI. I assume that about you. I'm the same way. But these young folks that are coming up, they grew up with these computer generated art forms coming at them through their phones. I don't think they have as much problems with it. And what kept people out of the industry for many years was you had to be able to illustrate. And to some degree, you had to be a designer. You had to have an eye for aesthetics. You had to understand placement, composition.
Yeah.
There's going to be, there already are, there's going to be more of them, programs where you could just take a person who has none of those skills. They could take a photo of the person's arm. The person tells them the theme, tells them they want this, they want that. They could enter it into this program. It's going to 3D generate the sleeve or whatever it is for the person on their specific body shape. They're going to be able to take that, print it out, make a stencil, slap it on you. And at that point, the tattoo artist still has to be a good technician, you know, but let's face it, that is probably the easier part of tattooing, the technician side. You know, it's not easy.
Do you think like at some point AI is going to be able to innovate a certain field? For example, back to the subject of heavy metal, right? Like what made Black Sabbath sound so like dark and bring that atmosphere to that sound was the fact that I don't know if you know the story, but Tony Iommi had his top 2 fingers chopped off in industry that he was working at. He was like a welding, like a metal and things, and then he was operating this sewing thing, and then he got like his fingers chopped off. So he could no longer play guitar on the same normal tune. He had to tune down the strings, so it was easier for him to press it. So that brought like this like dark sound atmosphere to the Black Sabbath music.
I didn't know that. No.
And that created a genre which was heavy metal, right? Like this gloomy like sound and heavy. And do you think like AI could possibly like create a genre like because some of them things like came from people's like limitations, right? Or things like that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I think we're at the phase right now where AI is just accumulating all the data of humankind. So it already probably has read every poem, listened to every song, observed every piece of visual art. It knows every history book, everything that was written.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they get like the resources are like things that have been already made.
Right.
Yeah.
So can it bring in something new, something novel?
Yeah.
I think it will. I think it will. I do. I think it will. I think it's going to, refraining from using the word sentient, because when you use that word, you're sort of now asking, does it have a soul? Is it alive in that way like we are? I wouldn't say it will do that. I'm not saying it won't. I mean, then you get into the question: what is sentience? What is a soul?
Right.
Hard to define. So
Man, I love this, man.
yeah, I don't know. So I wouldn't say it becomes sentient, but I do believe it can become so complex that it can start building upon. So it's gathering the current data, and then once it has assimilated all that data, it can build from there forward into new and novel ideas that we didn't bring to the table. It brought it to the table.
Yeah.
I do think it
Oh my God, man, this subject gets me like so excited and fired up. Like about like soul. Like I was reflecting the other day about like this soul meaning and representation, which is like, I was like diving through many videos that you can find on the internet about like quantum physics and whatnot. And then this guy was saying, like, he was sharing his thoughts, like, hey, everything, there's nothing but information. The whole universe is like nothing but information. For example, a dog. What makes the dog loyal to his owner and do things that they do and have this sense of protection and devotion to the owner? And some people might say, especially if they have like some kind of a scientific ground to it, they would say like, oh yeah, they're just born with it. But how so? I think like science and again, I'm not preaching about science. I'm very much pro-science. But I think like science goes into like a certain edge, a certain limit, and then it stops there. And they attribute everything else to like casuality. Oh yeah, they're just born like this. And then they when you call them, they come to you. And then when you call a cat, for example, cat, they don't, like normally they don't, some cats they do, but in general, like cats don't really respond as a dog would. And then you think like, okay, so where this information came from? How they're just born with it? Yeah, but what that came from? Why like they all like behave on that way? And especially like ourselves, like we have like a sympathy for someone that is in need of help. For example, if you see a child being like mistreated by a grown-up adult or something, you'll be like, you have automatically this sense of defense. Like, let's protect. So you have this sense of protection. All things like, oh, I need to protect and love like the person that brought me up, like my mom and my parents and people that I grew up with, like my siblings. So all this sense, all this information, what did necessarily came from that lies upon like many of us? I believe that this will be like what like spirituality and religions name as soul. And I think there will be like a scientific explanation to that, an aspect to it, which is like, the information that we are born with. For example, you, Aaron, like you're born with this like admiration and curiosity about art and all forms and fashion, like paintings and tattooing. So where that necessarily came from? Oh, Aaron was just born like that. For example, when I was born, I was like very much drawn to comic books. And then where that necessarily came from? Like it was not part of my environment whatsoever. And what about my love for heavy metal music? So what really like got me like cling to that, as opposed to what I had like on my upbringing, like samba and football. I was never like into football whatsoever, which is quite like strange, right? Mm-hmm. So where that necessarily came from? Like I think like all those things is determined by somewhat like an information which I don't know what it is. But unlike quantum physics, because they raise those questions, maybe somehow they do not bring like a specific answer. But just the fact that you raise the questions like amuse me and then gets me like a very like inspired by that.
Yeah, I do believe we have souls.
Yeah.
I also don't know if we do. You know, I don't know. And people say they know things like that. And I'm just like, how could you know? And when you tell me you know, you've lost me because you don't know. None of us know. We have to, you know, at some point, most of us have to place our bets, you know, and I'm placing my bet on that we have souls. The idea of soul, like, is it a machine? Are we just part of a simulation, or do we have a unique spiritual soul? I don't know if it really matters. Either way, we have this unique signature when we're born. Every child's born with a unique signature. They behave in a unique way, regardless of their environment. Yeah. And that seems to come from somewhere prior to birth.
Yes, exactly.
So
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's observable. We all have seen it. We all see it.
Yeah.
So I guess that lends me towards the thing that, I think we have souls. And I personally think we probably have existed forever. literally.
Yeah.
And we assimilate into different forms of consciousness to different experience different things. But overall, that millennia of time, each soul develops its own unique signature, vibration, its own curiosities that are different than the one next to them. Makes them unique, different from that one. And I think every living, breathing thing has that. The dogs, the cats, the birds. I might even go as far as to say inanimate objects, maybe. Maybe it's, an example might be, and they're not inanimate, but trees, for instance.
Yeah.
If you were to watch a forest on a fast forward video over 10,000 years, they're walking.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
they're walking.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's more rain over there. They just the forest moves.
Yeah,
it moves by bearing another tree. It sprouts. Well, those roots from the first tree to the second tree are connected by mycelium and a root network. So how is it this new tree is not the same as the one that's dying behind it? So in a way, their way to walk is to die, sprout up 10 feet in front of itself and die and sprout up. And we move so quickly and die so quickly. Our lifespans are, much shorter.
Yeah.
So they look like they're standing still, but they're not standing still. So is that consciousness? Are those trees and mushroom mycelia networks conscious? I think they are. I think they just move in a way that's hard for us to observe.
Yeah.
And they live differently. What they value is different than what we value. But there is, I believe, soul in everything.
Yeah.
Which will AI ever be that? I don't know. But I kind of believe maybe it will. Because if the whole universe is simply information and energy, which I do believe those two things are true, and then AI is energy and information. At some point, could it not be a fully developed, what we would call soul? Probably different than us, because it's not going to, it's connected. So all AI is connected to itself. So it's like one giant entity. Totally different than a human, which I do believe we are connected to, but we're not so obviously connected. I can't read your mind. I mean, some people say they can, but I can't. I doubt you can read my mind. But AI that's in Japan is in contact with AI in America, and it's all one giant consciousness, basically. And in that consciousness, does it develop to a point where we might even call that a soul? I think, yeah.
I think like I resonate with what you said about like we definitely existed before. I think like the human existence, meaning like our body and whatnot, is just like a manifestation of the existence. Like we all been there. Hence this the characteristics that we have that we're born with. And I agree that, and that all this data has been passed to AI, which brings like the notion of maybe like they would like be able to create like a soul and manifest this information and consciousness in other forms. Like I don't know, like for example, like we were talking about like robots or cyborgs performing on stage and kind of thing. Like that could be like something completely possible. Like I don't know, maybe I think like can't recall now the name of the movie I watched where this robots start to get like this like a human perceptions of things like feelings, sadness, joy, and all that. I was like, that could be like the manifestation of this consciousness, which is nothing but information, I guess. And then I think like the conversations can go like way broader than we are possibly project, right, when it comes to their subject, spirituality and technology. I think they walk hand in hand. I don't think there's a wall separating them, like many people want to perceive, like, okay, you are either religious or into science. And that if I'm into science, I believe in nothing that is like not matter. Say, oh yeah, so tell me, how do you talk on the phone? Like you can FaceTime with someone in Tokyo. And how does that work? There's no wire. There's nothing connected to you guys, but through radio transmission. And that's completely like a not matter, right? And you believe in other things like the power of sound. Like if you play like a speaker very loud here, you feel this impact of the subwoofer, right? And then, there's things out there that are not matter. And we live with them like day in, day out. They're part of our daily lives. And then some people try to overlook it, but it's fair enough, good for them. But I try to see like no separation and between those two forces, which is like the religion and the science, and I value both, and I think they both should work together.
When humans don't understand something, they love. Well, we don't like not being in control, not understanding something scary. So we will force definitions onto things. What is science? What is spirituality? I think it's just two separate attempts to explain reality. Neither are reality. They're just two ways of observing reality to provide some kind of rational explanation of what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And in that way, they're just two different mechanisms trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But they aren't really anything.
Yeah.
They're just ideas.
Yeah.
And really feeble ideas. And neither of them have even come close to giving us the bottom line.
Yeah.
And if anything could probably tell us the bottom line, it's going to be AI. The expansion into the universe, we can't even do that. Carbon-based life forms can't travel at the speed of light. We can't go long distances through space. AI can.
Yeah.
We made that thing.
Yeah.
Why was it all these things had to occur to the point where we invent a thing that can spread itself through space? And if it is truly consciousness, isn't that what life seems to do? All life seems to be seeking a way to expand itself. Well, we've already covered the planet. What's next?
Yeah.
Out there somewhere.
Yeah.
How do we get out there?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here comes AI.
Do you think it's possible to a person reach that mindset of yours without the experience, exposure to, I don't know, like a substance like DMT and mushrooms and whatnot? Even if you don't engage into that, could you like reach out this sort of?
I don't know firsthand. I hate to ever say yes 100% to something that I haven't experienced myself. I've attempted to do that many times through forms of meditation and holotropic breathing, fasting, and none of those experiences have happened for me. I know folks that I trust very much so, though I think have no motivation to lie about such things, who claim that they have been able to do that. So I think it is possible, absolutely. But I think it takes an immense amount of practice and commitment. And in our Western culture, we're not really wired up in that way. Not many people are willing to go sit alone in the woods for 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 years trying to master this technique. Many people have. Most people won't. I find it extremely interesting that hallucinogenics are on the planet in the first place. And I find it even more interesting that things like DMT have shown up in Western culture heavily in the last 10 years. I wonder if there's a plan somewhere out there that got that to happen, because you're dealing with a population who has lost connection with itself.
Yeah.
That needs to reconnect. Our loss of connection has been sort of positive, because in our loss of connection to planet, to earth, to soul, we have invented satellites. And these are the things humans do. A lot of it was through war. We invented nuclear power because we were trying to create a weapon to hurt people. But in that lost state of mind, seeking war, we accidentally invent fusion. So how do you wake up a culture like this? How do you reconnect a culture like this? Fucking give them DMT. Why DMT? Only takes 15 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Not many Westerners are willing to sit in the Amazon and do ayahuasca for a week.
No.
Some do, some very brave souls do. I plan on doing that soon. But I know a lot of people I've been around who are like, I'll try that.
Yeah.
And they come out of that experience going, wait a minute, hold on. I think I just was told I'm everything. Like I saw the energy in my fingers combining with the air.
Huh.
How is that possible? So it's a very convenient drug. Drug's a bad word. It's not a drug.
Yeah.
That showed up at a time when I think our next event that needs to occur is we got to get this species to wake up, realize we are all connected. My success, my wealth, my health, everything I need is dependent on you. It's dependent on every human on this earth. We are not alone. If countries want to go into this isolation thing, that ends bad. We have to collaborate. How do you get people to wake up to this idea that we're all connected? DMT is one way. There's also, the internet has provided a lot of this information. Many people now. I mean, shit. 15 years ago, nobody was, meditating.
Mhm.
Nobody was
Yeah.
reading about quantum physics.
Yeah.
The internet made this information widely available, and people are curious, and
Yeah.
more people are curious.
Yeah.
So I do see our species in an apex moment seems to be approaching with the advent of AI and also the waking up of a lot of powerful people going, okay, wait a second here. I'm connected to everything. So we'll see how this crescendo plays out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it does feel like we're hitting
Yeah.
a peak point here.
Yeah, I think it's essential, to get yourself exposure to those substances. It's not that we need them, but I think they help us and they speed up the process a lot because we can't see things on ourselves from ourselves. You got to step back in order to see the bigger picture. And then when it comes to a structure of government and all that, I think that's what they try to do is deviate our human nature to this a consciousness of unity. They try to separate us hey, you guys are not in unity. You guys separate. For example, you guys are Democrats. You guys are Republicans. You guys are left wing. You guys are right wing. You guys are that race on this race. You guys belong to this group and that group, separation, right? Separate and divide and conquer kind of thing, And then when you get to that mindset, try to elevate your thoughts about it, your spirituality as well, it comes to that conclusion that, hey, the other person doesn't exist. The other person is me, is an extension of myself. That's what goes hands in hand with what you're saying, we can't do anything alone. We need people to thrive. We need people to be wealthy, and then we need all of that. We need the community.
We need each other.
Exactly, we need each other. So and then that goes together with the fact that we are one. There's no such a thing as the other. So any harm that we do to someone else, we do to ourselves in a way.
Or our children.
Yeah,
It might benefit me in my little lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how's it going to affect my grandkids?
Yeah, and then more and more we see society going separate ways. Hey, now there's this a general debate and whatnot. So more and more we see things that try to divide us.
Well, you talked earlier about the shaking of the boat, right?
Mhm.
New technology that I think is going to benefit us in the long haul is going to create a lot of disruption. And one of the bad side effects of the internet and social media in general is it's really not evil. It's just that its job is to keep your attention. Well, the quickest way to keep somebody's attention is to show them information that they want to look at. Well, if I'm a Democrat and I love the current president, I don't want to see Republican speakers. I don't want to see what Donald Trump has to say, for instance. So I get on my phone and I don't see what he has to say. And if I have beliefs about why the other side is shitty and my side's great, it's going to feed me information to back up those beliefs. So then these echo chambers develop and everyone feels right. And this is a negative side effect of social media, the internet in general. But, I think that pendulum is coming back.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to find anybody that is, thoughtful and reflective who wouldn't agree with what I just said. But you have the old guard, people I don't want to throw my mom under the bus but I hear, I can tell when I'm hanging out with her that the information she's receiving is coming from one thing, one source. So she feels very right in her beliefs about the politics of this nation.
Yeah, totally.
But that, sometimes you need the new kids to come up and they need to take control.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that the young kids coming up now are way smarter about how these algorithms work. They're not stupid. They realize, even my 19-year-old daughter, she said several things to me where it's just a known thing to her. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't believe everything I see on social media. And I realize it's showing me what it thinks me, a 19-year-old girl, wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
And she observes it, she digests it, but she has a part of her that's but I know what it's doing.
Yeah.
That awareness is going to be very prevalent it's already, we are talking about it. And I think a lot of people our age are already talking about it. But these 20-year-olds coming up, they're well aware of that.
Yeah.
So this negative side effect we're experiencing right now, I think the pendulum will swing back and people are seeking out these types of discussions, long format, thoughtful discussions where people can really talk about these things and get really dive deep into them and understand them versus what you're going to get on, CNN. A guy comes on to promote a philosophical idea or a political idea. He's got 10 seconds, and he's supposed to break that down to you.
Yeah,
and that's supposed to, and then this guy gets 10 seconds to respond, and boom, commercial break, so we can sell you some pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
I
love this analogy of a pendulum. I think it's always, especially when it comes to human evolution. Which is the pendulum swings back as strong as far as it went. So as far as we go with the technology and habits and new trends and whatnot, the pendulum will swing back to more traditional ways. For example, hence the consumption of new styles. I don't know if you heard of ignorant style. I think what really it's like those tattoos that it's really
Inuit.
No, ignorant.
Oh, ignorant.
Ignorant style, which is those designs that looks more like etchy work and not drawn by a child or something. You know what I mean?
I know those styles. I've never heard it given that label.
I think that's what they call it, if I'm not mistaken. But then, please correct me if anyone watching this, correct me if I make any mistake here, because I'm not too into it. But yeah, I think we went so far in terms of advantage and skills when it comes to delivering tattoos and constructions of bodysuits and whatnot, that now this is old fashioned for the new generation. I don't want to be like my dad with
chaos.
Yeah, I don't want to be like my dad with perfect, flawless tattoos and full sleeves and whatnot. I want that tattoo that looks like being done by a child or something. That's the new trend. No matter what, I want to deviate from what my parents looks like, right? That's what create all the movements, art movements, in music, fashion, and art, and so forth. So I guess that's the pendulum always swings back and then brings more people getting a little bit more traditional in a way. That goes also with the story we were sharing earlier with the consumption of vinyl and material, physical music products. I saw recently I followed this label on music, heavy metal label on social media, on Instagram. And then a bunch of bands, they start to produce now cassettes. Remember cassettes?
Yeah.
Cassettes are back now, man.
Are they? Oh.
Yeah. And then and apparently it's been selling a lot because all bands, they're manufacturing them now. They're putting them on the catalog. Why is that? It's because people, always it's too technology now. I want to go back to a different route.
Pendulum swinging back.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I have faith in humanity, and I think that we can't judge this stuff by what's happening today. Give it a few years. And, these young folks coming up, they're smart. They're going to be very hyper aware of the manipulation of online media and things like this. They're not stupid. They're going to be able to sift through it. And you're already seeing the shift. I mean, there's statistics out there that indicate, more and more people aren't getting their news from your television. They go to podcasts like this. They do it that way. So it's becoming a more boutique service. Where you really, if you want quality, then you got to go find it.
Yeah.
If you want a good restaurant, you're gonna have to do a little research. You can't just walk down the street and be pissed that you ate somewhere and it wasn't that good. And we have the ability to do that. You can do your own research. You can find out your own health solutions for your own personal health. You think you're just going to walk into the Western doctor's office and he's going to figure out your diet and how to fix you? No. And don't bitch when he doesn't, because you can do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Plenty of resources out there. Hundreds of podcasts on whatever disease you're suffering from. Have you listened to that material? And I think what I'm seeing is the people of today are doing that. And they're realizing we have the power to control our own lives. We don't need an intermediary, somebody in between that tells us how to live our lives, how to be healthy, mentally or physically. And the smart people are taking their life into their own hands, their own, and with their, using the phones in that powerful way.
Yeah. And isn't that a magical? I love that.
That is
these new days. Yeah. We were so dependent on the opinion formation by those big media corporations. They were dictating what we should think and behave.
Oh yeah.
Hey, this and that nation attacked these other nations, so they are the bad guys, and we were oh yeah, cool, man. Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah, fine.
Yep.
But now we have more sources of information, and that's marvelous, man. I embrace it, man. A brave new world, bro. Honestly, I'm all pro like a technology, and then
Yeah, we have the ability to do it ourselves now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go to the doctor, he tells you to take a certain medication. Maybe go home, spend 100 hours researching that medication. Maybe he was right. Perhaps there's 10 other things you could try that are benign first before you go on that medication.
Yeah,
we can do these things. Anyone that's sitting out there, you know, that's in their 40s and they're overweight and they still eat KFC, you know, or fast food, shame on you.
Yeah.
You know, that excuse worked 25 years ago. I didn't know any better. Nobody did. Why not go and buy a bucket of chicken from KFC? It's cheap and it's chicken. It's good. We didn't know it was bad for us. Those days are gone. You know. And if you don't know, shame on you. You could easily find out.
Yeah.
So yeah, take it as far as you want. If it's politics, do some deep diving. If it's health, do some deep diving.
Yeah.
We have the power. That's beautiful. We're back in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And we're our age group. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
You know, you meet a lot of people who haven't really woke up to that. But when you get those younger generations, I don't find that to be true at all. I think these younger folks are like, duh.
Yeah.
My kids don't eat fast food. They're like, that shit's bad for you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's all positive.
Yeah,
I think
positive,
you know, we're kind of highlighting you know, a lot of people want to focus on the division that's in the world right now and how everyone's either on the left or the right, and that's true. But I do think that pendulum's coming back, and we're going to see a much more balanced general consciousness in the world because of these technologies.
Yeah.
And AI is only going to turbocharge that.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. I believe that despite like this whole like advanced technology that we have now, in a way, somewhat like a format, we still like on the target of being deceived by the government. See what happened like 4 years ago with you know, like a
they're trying
global pandemic. Like they managed to get everyone like obedient, like locked in.
Not everyone, but yes.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, but the big like majority, right? The big majority and whatnot. And they were like, okay, this is the enemy. That's what you should do. And then you should do that to protect others, like putting the responsibility on you. And then like throwing people against each other, like, hey, you don't believe in that? So you should like, so you are conspiracy theorist, like you plotting against like the well-being of your family and your neighbors and your community. No, I'm just thinking differently. Like, no, you're not allowed to. So like in a way, the government proved that they still can turn like the public opinion around, despite like all this power that we have in our pocket, like you said.
Well,
so,
they did do that. And hey, guys, good job. That propaganda campaign was fucking top notch, man. Good job. But they also exposed themselves because many people I know who fell into that propaganda campaign are now free thinkers that are doing some of their own research. And what's been exposed is these motherfuckers are using this shit against us. It's going to be a little harder on the next run. A little harder the third run after that.
It will,
when you see a podcast like Joe Rogan, I think he's probably more listened to than maybe any platform in the world. That's debatable, but we can all agree a lot of power, a lot of people listen to that show. And what are they talking about on that show? They're talking about what we're talking about. So again, the pendulum is swinging back. They fucked that up because they did get away with it, but it's just like somebody who's got a really cunning scheme on how to rob a bank. And maybe the first go around, it succeeds because the banks weren't ready for you.
Yeah.
But guess what happens after that robbery? New cameras are put in. You can't do it the second time as easily. And I think that's what we're facing here. I think that was I actually appreciate that they did it because more than ever, everyone's on hyper alert now. People, when they hear information now, are going, they're pausing and going, maybe I'll take that into account. But let me do a little more reading. Let me do a little more listening. We'll get back to that, you know, and that's what they created by doing that. So great. Good job, but good luck next time. Was a little scary when it went down. I was shocked by the obedience of our culture.
I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if you fell in line or not, just the lack of questioning. Not even people, even to say the question. They're like, that guy's a fucking idiot. Get him out of here. You know, I'm like, well, just asking a question.
Yeah, exactly,
Just asking a question. That's not allowed. I thought we could talk. You know? No, you can't talk. You can't, Take down his account, you know.
Totally.
That was scary. But I don't think, and again, I have a huge hope when I see things like Joe Rogan's show and there's so many more out there. Sam Harris, another good one. Really just openly talking about everything, not making judgment, just saying this is the information that's coming in.
Yeah.
Make up your own damn
Yeah.
mind about
Yeah.
it, you know?
So even like a disgrace like that works in the favor of getting people more awakened to, you know, to reality, right? Like like you said, like some people were dormant. They were like, yeah, whatever, just navigate through life as they go. But then with that situation, they were like, oh, hang on a minute, let me think for myself now, and then question like all these things that this or that institution and government's been preaching. Let me question that. Let me think for a moment. So that was like a amazing like awakening moment, right? For many of us.
They expose themselves, dude. I mean, the Twitter files.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know the analogy of hey, like is when the tide goes down that you see that people have been swimming naked or something like that. Have you seen that?
I haven't heard that, but that would be a good analogy.
Right,
Yeah, they expose themselves, and because of that exposure, a lot of people dug deeper, and because of digging deeper, we now know a lot more shit. We know about the shenanigans that were going down. I mean, the Twitter files are a huge one. It's a fact. The FBI and the CIA were having meetings, basically grooming and telling Twitter what to publish, what not to publish, who can talk, who can't talk. I don't know. You know, believe either side you want, but on what planet is that okay with you? On what planet is it okay that our government is telling massive media outlets what they can and cannot say? I'll put it more simply. That sounds a little bit like fucking communism. That sounds a little bit like a dictatorship.
Totally.
The whole country, this country, your country, this is based on freedom. And guess what, people? You can't have freedom without listening to people you don't agree with. That's the beauty of it. Everyone gets a voice, period. You don't like it, switch the channel, but you don't turn them off.
Yeah.
When you let that happen, and right now it's served certain people with certain beliefs say, well, we had to do that because that was a safe move. Great. Maybe you're right. I don't think you were, but maybe you were. But you have just allowed a paradigm to continue. And next time they might shut your voice off. You're cool with it right now because they shut off the voice you didn't want to hear. But on the next round, maybe they'll shut off your voice. You should just be, we all should be just against that, period. Yeah, on any level. And I think most provocative thinkers, deep thinkers, people that are really, you know, take the time to sift through this stuff, they agree with us on this. So anybody who's just still, you know, whatever, those people that just blindly agree that was okay, those aren't the people that are going to be running the country in 20 years. It's going to be folks like us. Not me, by the way. I have no interest in that. But people like us. So it's going to come back. It's going to serve us well. It's a brand new technology. Of course, they're going to abuse it. But we'll see how it plays out long term.
I think like many people, like myself included, and I think you fall in the same pocket. Like we could see the glitch on the matrix like a long time ago, way before that. For example, I bring up like a subject of hey, like why none of us, no matter if you're from like a third world country like South America or a rich country like Switzerland or the USA, like why we're not like taught like useful things for grown-up human lives at school? Why you're not taught none of it? Like for example, finances and how to create wealth, how to create like a enterprise or work, learn about credit and finance, things that really matter for an adult life, as opposed to like things that they teach us at school, like I don't know, history, Napoleon, and geography. I'm not saying like not diminishing the importance of those things, no, but nobody teach me anything about like how credit works or how to get a mortgage or how to invest your money. Why we're not like, why you don't learn those things at school? Like it really, I can't get my head around it. And that, for me, there's a glitch on the matrix. Like you can clearly see there is like a purpose in that. Like, please don't take me like too crazy on conspiracy theories, but it's true.
You don't got to be crazy. Follow the money. That's what I'd say. Follow the money.
Exactly. So I learned that as a grown up. Like, say, hey, I need to invest my money. It's not just about like getting the fish. You have to learn how to cook it and to multiply the fish as well. So all those things, you know, like because we are like put in a way like in the direction that you have to learn a certain like a skill, like being a lawyer or a dentist or a doctor, and then work for a corporation, retire, get a mortgage, and die, and and that's what you got to do.
Ignorance is very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
You knowing, if they taught us in school how to take care of our health, how to eat correctly,
Right. Yeah.
think of who loses money in that equation. Starts with the fast food industry, the processed food industry, they lose money.
Yeah.
Then people are not getting as sick. Who loses money next? Pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
Insurance industry. So ignorance is profitable.
It's profitable.
It's
yeah.
very profitable. And I don't think there's really a cabal or some big dark room with a bunch of evil sons of bitches sitting in it really saying it this directly. It's just the evolution of corporations.
Totally.
It's not as evil and sinister and as we might think. A corporation by nature is built and designed in a way to create profit.
Yeah.
It's their job. It's the fast food industry's job to create profit for their shareholders, and they're going to do that. And it's not one guy trying to make the world sick. It's just thousands of people going to work, and your job is to create a good marketing campaign for the new chips that just came out.
Yeah.
You're a nice guy.
Yeah.
You're not an evil guy. So you come up with a cool slogan because that's your job.
Yeah.
That cool slogan works. So a lot more people eat chips.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the end result is that's not good for the overall human health of our population, which increases sickness, which increases profitability for the pharmaceutical companies. Did you have any of that in mind when you created the slogan? No, you just made it, went home, had dinner with your wife.
Yeah.
So it's just the way the system functions. But again, back to originally what we were talking about earlier is we all have the ability to break that chain. Yeah, they aren't going to teach us, our children, how to manage their money.
No.
But our children today can go on YouTube and watch thousands of videos by extremely smart people that will teach you that.
Right. Yeah.
Self-education is where we're at.
Yeah.
Now we're in the driver's
Self-education.
seat.
Yeah.
And if you're
Which brings responsibility. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
If you want to go to sleep and just rely on your public school system and your local healthcare system, and then cry about the fact you're broke and sick at 50,
Yeah.
that's on you, man.
Yeah, it's on you. Yeah.
The resources were there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I self-educate myself all the time. I don't need to go to college. I can learn everything I need to know
right.
about finance just sitting in my house watching YouTube videos
Totally, yeah.
or reading books that are
Yeah.
available to
Yeah.
me or listening to audiobooks
Yeah.
or podcasts.
Yeah.
And that goes into every field.
Yeah, that's the saving grace of technology, right? It's definitely like bringing the responsibility to you, and that applies to our industry as well, right? Like we were talking earlier, like it doesn't like putting a good tattoo doesn't do it anymore. You have more responsibility now. You got more things. The resources are there. How to marketing, how to do things. Are you willing to walk the walk and pay the price and then read through and educate yourself? The resources are there. Just like go and dig deep on that, invest some time, like sacrifice some social time, some leisure, and all that, and then just go for it. Like try, like it's not whine about like for example, like what I was saying, like putting everything on the government's bill. Like oh yeah, they have to educate us, they have to like give us like health and all that. And indeed, it's part of the role, but again, like we should not take like responsibility from our shoulders. Like we gotta have this like obligation. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation, man. Yeah, I could go like days like talking about it, man.
I could too, man. I could too, but I'm being told that 2-hour, 3-hour podcasts aren't super digestible at the level I'm at. So I might have to kind of steer this. This is an endless rabbit hole.
Yeah, totally.
I spend most of my days talking just like this to people.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite thing.
Likewise, yeah.
And I like the way you think.
Yeah.
This has been really cool talking to you.
Thank you. Likewise.
A like-minded person who understands these things and sees the optimism, the positivity.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of my friends are real smart and they're into it too, but too much doom and gloom with some of them. They're like, we're fucked. You know that, right? I'm like, whoa. First of all, thoughts create reality. We're in a simulation, so I don't want to get involved with that because that's probably what will happen if that's all you're thinking about every day. So let's all get together, see a better future, visualize a better outcome for humanity, my brothers and sisters, my friends, my family, your friends, your family. There is hope for peace on this planet, for collaboration, for cooperation.
Yeah.
And I see many signs why we could easily get there in the coming 10 years with all this apex momentum and technology. So I remain extremely optimistic as you do. And I'm also just wildly entertained. What an entertaining time to be alive. Like, I feel like life is more entertaining than the newest sci-fi movie. Like I love sci-fi. I'd watch that because you could watch these crazy novel ideas playing themselves out on film. shit, now it's happening in real time
Right?
in my life.
Yeah.
This is the sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
This shit's getting trippier than 3 hits of acid. Like, it is like, when you really just back away and get the bird's eye view of what's happening in culture, I'm like, this is a fucking trip, man.
Yeah.
This is psychedelic as it gets,
Yeah.
you know? So it's a very fun time to be alive, very exciting time to be alive. And I'm very grateful to be here. And hopefully, knock on wood, I get a few more years out of this body. I'll get a few
me
you
too.
and me.
Yeah, I don't want to leave the party, man. The party's amazing, bro.
Because it's getting real good. We're about
Yeah.
ready to have the big crescendo. I want to be here for that.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, look, everybody listening out there, me and Joao, God damn it. You know what fucks me up is on your Instagram, the Bosco and the Joao are together. And forever, without pausing to look more carefully, I was putting the B at the end of your name. Joab. Then I finally was like, and your last name I thought was Osco.
Oscar.
Yeah. Then I finally realized, no, the fucking B is it's Bosco.
Yeah.
So Joao Bosco, at Joao, JOAOBOSCO art, I believe.
Yeah.
Art.
Art.
Check him out on Instagram. If you love really great black and gray tattoos, he's fabulous with snakes and skulls and definitely a darker toned imagery to your metal background. But your stuff is fucking dope, dude. You're a huge inspiration to me and many others. Check him out for sure if you're into that type of work, or even if you're not, you just got to see this guy's stuff. He's a unicorn in our industry. We're lucky to have him. And thank you for making the time to come down here and have some of these deep conversations with me.
Yeah, we gotta do that again, man. We gotta do like a part 2 because I feel I feel like this one was just like a scratch on the things that we have to share.
Oh yeah. We'll see if any of our predictions came true.
Yeah,
come back in a couple of years and we'll see where we nailed it and where we were way off.
Yeah, and then it really pleased me the outcome of it because I was very much like how am I gonna get this law not sounding like a conventional tattoo chat.
Yeah.
You know, which is like nothing wrong with it. I love this subject, but hey, like I would like to go like broader and then bring those thoughts to like it's not like I have like a chance to talk about the subjects like every day, right? Like it's not everyone that is open minded to embrace like those themes and subjects. But yeah, I'm happy that you did.
Well, you know how to get a hold of me. If you ever have one of those late nights where you need a buddy.
Oh yeah, please.
You know, I'll sit by my fire pit.
Please.
You sit by yours. We could do an hour.
Yeah, please. Yeah, and let's do it again. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll say it right now. We're doing a part 2 with you for sure. What about before we wrap things up? Anything new you're up to? Projects, books, art shows, shops? Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm working right now in the production of some kind of publication or documentation of my 20 years of in the industry, together with the accomplishment that I did last year, which was the completion of my bodysuit by Philip Lou back in in
Philip did your whole body?
Yeah.
I did not. I saw it in the arms like, looks like Philip, but I didn't know everything.
Yeah. And then I went there on the mission to get like everything completed in 1 year. And then we all Leo was following me with his wife Hannah, and then they were like documenting, like filming everything, capturing like all the action. So we're gonna put like together in the format of a film / documentary about like my journey through tattooing, and then my commitment as well, like to being a canvas and together with Philip's history, right? Like life history and whatnot. Because I remember I put like a deadline for me. I was like, man, by the age of 40, man, like I want to be complete, man. I want to get like the bodysuit complete because like I don't know how long I can put up with it. Like I don't know how I survived, man. Like this whole like coverage that I have. And I never thought it was possible, but like just before we wrap up, I want to finish in one note, which is like the importance of, especially when it comes to like a big scale, large scale pieces, the importance that the tattooer has on the client's endurance. Meaning, like hey, it is like a difficult process. It's intimidating, it's painful, and it's all that indeed. However, I think like through like some more like a spirituality, we can like pass, like we can boost this threshold and the endurance that the client must, that the client has, and at some point on the session, it might run out of, right? Like what I remember very vivid in my head when I was doing my back piece with Philip back in 2009, 2010, something like that. And then I was so nervous, bro. Like I was waiting for him on his reception room in the reception of his studio. It was a street shop at the time in Lausanne. And then I was so nervous, bro. I was shaking. I was like, man, it was a dreadful fear, man, like I never felt before. I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it, man. And I remember I always share this experience with people. Like, I remember vivid in my head when Philip walked in. I was there before him. He walked in and I was shaking, and I saw the guy, like my heart skipped a bit. Not because I was seeing him, but because I was about to get through like a traumatic experience, right? Which is like the bodysuit. And then I remember when he approached me and he looked me deep in the eyes and he shook my hand. Like he didn't say a word, but somehow, man, I don't want to be too hippie about it, but somehow he said, like, with his staring, he said, like, hey, bro, you can make it. You can do it, bro. And he showed a major and massive respect, and that really like boost my confidence. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So we should never like get this law out of ourselves. It's also our duty to boost like clients' confidence. You know what I mean? Like I say, hey, bro, I believe you, man. You can do it. You can go through it, and we're gonna do this lot together. And then that's what I try to practice. And that's what I learned by getting tattooed by Philip. I believe this, personally, it doesn't work for everyone. But for me, I had to go through like all this process, getting like from toes to collarbone, get fully covered. Apart from my genitals, I have tattoos everywhere. And then I think that was necessary for me to understand what the client goes through in order to start delivering it. I think I'm quite even with the tattoo gods. If I go through that, I thought like that was my thought, and then so that's what I try to do, like somehow like dig in and bring out this confidence, that this inner force that many clients, people think they think like they don't have it, but they do have it, and it's also like a part of our duty, our job to dig it out and say like, hey man, you can do it, and whenever they can't, just be understandable and say like, hey man, today is just a bad day. Doesn't represent who you are. Let's cut it short this session. You come back another time, and then we're gonna do that. But always like throw this positivity on clients. Never be like, oh man, like this guy didn't never stay still. Like today's gonna be very difficult. Hey man, you have to help me. You have to stay still, bro. Hey man, like I understand what that person is going through. Maybe he had like just a bad day, and then he can't put it together. But yeah, I think it's part of our job, man, to do that.
Empathy. You're absolutely right. I mean, people who do smaller tattoos maybe don't have to do the thing you're talking about. I've done large tattoos my whole life. I've got a lot of large work. I'm not completely covered, but mostly. I've been in that hot seat. But yeah, when you come in, that's huge. You come in with that empathy. You're not thinking about your new car. You're not thinking about where you're going to dinner. You're thinking about that person in your chair. And you have that empathy, that compassion. And it doesn't even have to be with words. It's an energy.
Yeah,
it's an energy transfer. You know,
totally.
I've got a lot more power because I'm not under the needle. So I'm going to share my energy with you. And we all know, like, if you tattoo somebody who's going through it and you do a 6-7 hour session, you, the tattooer, when you go home, you're empty because you've given that energy to them because they needed it.
Totally.
You know, my wife, I come in, she's like, you look a fucking zombie. I'm like, yeah, my client today needed everything I had. My spirit, man. I gave him a piece of me.
Yeah, it does. It does feels like that, man. Sometimes I go through sessions like the time goes by so fast, like a blink of an eye. Like a 8-hour session feels like 2 hours, and sometimes like a 2-hour session feels like 8 hours. See what I mean? Like because that client, and there's nothing bad about the client, but somehow that client demands more energy from you, and then you throw more of your energy into him, and then you feel like knackered afterwards, right? Like you feel like, oh my god, I'm drained, I'm empty. Yeah, indeed. Like there's definitely a spiritual correlation in that, in an exchange, and I think like it shouldn't be overlooked.
No, and it's not hard to do. You just have to hold it in your heart. Hold it in your spirit. Say the mantra to yourself. I am here 100% for this person today.
Yeah.
And you will be.
Yeah.
But again, I think I'm glad you highlighted that. I think the greats do that. Philip did that for you. You do that for people. Yeah. One of the reasons he's noted as one of the greatest tattoo artists ever to live. It's not just because of his portfolio and the amazing work he does. It's the spirit he brings to those sessions for those people. And you're not the only one that's told me that about Philip.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that so many times that I don't know him as well as you, but it must be true.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hear it that often.
I don't know, man. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going too far on that statement, but I don't think I would be able to do that if it wasn't for Philip's attitude of respect and then compassion, empathy, and all that, man, for sure. I think that what made me go through, because I don't think I have like a massive threshold and tolerance to tattooing, bro. Like honestly, every single time I was getting tattooed like every year for 20 years. I didn't skip 1 year, man, for 20 years. That's how I managed to get the bodysuit complete. And every single time, even when I was getting like a tiny tattoo, I was getting so nervous. That's how afraid of needles I am. And but definitely like Philip played an important role on the
and
achievement.
taught you something along the way.
Absolutely.
Something that you take to the table now.
Big time.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Kudos to Philip Lou for that.
Yeah.
Right on, my friend. So where can people find you? I'm assuming, well, you already said it. You're at Black Anchor when you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You're at Sacred Gold Tattoo when you're in London.
Yeah.
You're at conventions here and there, guest spots here and there.
Yeah.
But those are your two kind of hubs.
My hubs. Yeah. So like anyone that wants to like get tattooed by me, they can reach out. I'm always like taking new clients on board, and I'm always regular to LA, to Southern California, because I know that people can't wait forever, right? So I have this commitment with them. I go back, take care of the business in London, and do my clients there, and I come back regularly to Southern California to continue the big projects. Like I'm back I think the longest I stay away from California gotta be like 8 weeks, like 2 months, and that's it. Like sometimes like I'm back like every 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Wow.
Like a long flight doesn't really bother me. I'm okay with that. And I can beat like jet lag like quite easily. So
I was gonna say you must. Dude.
Yeah.
Every time I fly to Europe, it kicks my ass, man.
Yeah.
Kicks my
Right?
ass.
Yeah.
I
It's
probably
just practicing, you know.
Yeah, I probably have too many cocktails on the
There
way.
you go.
I gotta
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, let's go.
It's not
Yeah.
helping me when I land
No,
with a
definitely not.
hangover already.
Definitely not.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again for coming down. Everybody,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. All the likes, all the shares, all the subscriptions. Please keep them coming. The growth is going great. But again, I can't keep doing this forever without your support and all the people that have been showing me so much love from the bottom of my heart. I truly do appreciate it. So thanks for that. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next one. Bye-bye for now.